Hello? Y'all ready to get this party started? Who's ready for some recovery tonight?
That wasn't very loud.
Who's ready for some recovery tonight? So Shane and I got a little something special for everybody tonight.
What?
Chuck, you got to cue the music, man. Chuck's got to cue the music.
I'm scared.
You ready?
Be scared.
We have no idea what we're going to do.
I don't know what you're going to do. What's happening?
I'm dancing. Everybody break out your phones.
Yeah. Be witnesses.
You're really going to want to watch this one.
Whoa. Whoa. This is getting a little oh my goodness.
Here it goes. Here it goes. Come on.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah. It is ladies' night.
Well done, well
and
done.
I feel
well
all right.
Done.
Ladies' night. Oh, what a night.
You guys, they've been practicing this all day.
All day, just for that.
Exactly.
All right, well, seriously, though, tonight we are celebrating women in recovery. And what I want to do before we get started, before I pass it over to Natalie and I come off the stage, because I'm not a lady, but I want to bring any ladies up that have less than 30 days clean.
Yes,
Are there any ladies in the house that have less than 30 days clean? Come on up.
Yeah.
Woo! Come on up.
Come on up here.
How about that? Where'd they all go?
You were supposed to say.
They just got a hug?
Yeah. They
where'd
got
they go?
hugs, but we didn't get to hear their name.
Let's bring them all back up, right up here in front.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Let's really celebrate everybody with less than 30 days clean.
Don't walk away yet. Don't walk away. We're going to spotlight you for just a half a second. We'll start with you. Can you tell us your name?
I'm KK, 3 days sober.
That a baby? That a baby? Woo! That's what I'm talking about. Okay.
Cindy's 15.
Amber, 7.
Doing hugs again, too.
Silent, 9.
Amazing.
No hair, 18.
Yes.
Stacy, 18.
Amazing.
Angie, 26. Kelly, 11.
Nice.
Vanessa, 9.
Yes.
May, 23.
Woo! Nice. This is the most important. I'm glad you ladies are here because your life is about to get amazing. Yes, it is.
It's the most important people in the room right here tonight.
That is.
All right.
Amazing. You can have a seat.
You guys
now.
can have a seat now. I'm literally, at this point, going to turn the meeting over. Well,
Well, not really, because we always. Have him sing, and then you'll
Yeah.
you'll get back up here.
I know
trust
I
me.
will.
As much as Chad likes to pretend that he's gonna have a seat, he's not. Because even though we are like honoring ladies and everything, when it comes down to it, all are welcome at our meetings. All of our meetings, from our Tuesday night Recover Out Loud Zoom to our in-person, it's for everyone. Whether you're in recovery or if you're supporting somebody that you love or a friend that's in recovery, because as we all know, the disease trickles to people that we absolutely love and are in our lives. So we appreciate all you guys that are here today.
So we need 3 volunteers, 3 lady volunteers. I got 1, 2, 3.
Boom, easy.
Perfect.
Where?
We got a couple readings we're going to do, not right this second.
Not right this second.
But we're going to hand you guys the readings so that when we call you in to come up. That's the closing.
So whoever is closing?
Yeah, give me this.
And then the other 2.
And then you'll close. Okay. Yep.
Yes. Thank you. And then we'll call you guys back up when it's time.
All right.
I feel like it's kind of tradition that we have done this from the jump.
From the jump.
So we're just kind of continuing with the tradition, right?
Yep. Where is he?
Where is our boy?
I see him. Let's bring up our good friend Michael. He goes by Multifaceted Monster. He's going to do a little music for us.
A little show, you know, bringing it down. Oh, it's okay.
Appreciate you, brother.
Take it away.
Thank
It's
you,
all
thank you.
yours.
How y'all doing? Want to shout out to y'all for Ladies Night and everyone in recovery, but make some noise for yourselves for showing up, whether you're supporting or sober yourself. It is not an easy journey. It's something that it takes a village, and I know all too well. My sobriety date is 10/18/23, and thank you. So I'm going to get off with this first song. It's called God's Violin 2, I believe, if I have the correct order. If not, then I'll correct myself. But artist name is Multifaceted Monster. Go ahead and drop that one. Check, check. Can y'all hear me okay? In hindsight, it worked out perfect, but being in the storm was disturbing. It felt like nothing was working. It felt like endless searching. Crossroad after crossroad, feeling like a lost soul. Patience is a virtue, but sometimes waiting does feel awful. Music is how I offload. Kill it, but keep it lawful. I'm a score trying to get a nut. Then DoorDash from chicken and waffles. Perspective change to the Nietzsche. Young and Malcolm X, trying to learn another language. Cyrillic alphabet. Привет, меня зовут Multifaceted Monster. Let's just say hello and tell you my name in case you wondered. I've been told that I look like Black Panther from Wakanda. I was searching for that real love until I found her.
Life is not a dream.
I don't wanna wake up. People criticize, my response is so what? Life is what you make it, the risk, will you take it? Will you be yourself or to impress? Will you fake it? Life is but a dream, I don't wanna wake up. People criticize, my response is so what?
I'm God's violin.
Here is your encore,
I'm turning into a monster.
bumping Paramore,
We are broken.
like Haley said.
Misguided ghosts and our reflections, they seem brain dead. I'm God's violin.
Here is your encore,
I'm turning into a monster.
bumping Paramore.
We are broken. Like Haley said.
Second verse.
Misguided ghosts and our reflections, they seem brain dead.
It's so irrelevant. Look what the devil sent. I'm Jerry Lee Lewis, balls of fire, and all 7. It's been misconstrued or misrepresented. They don't really care about what you think, so let me take a minute. Set the bar straight. You're more salty than phosphate. Please don't speak when it's all hate. My apologies, but it don't relate. Hard to specify a religion. Not hard to believe in God, though. Good things do take time, so I'm grateful for that long road. Have some lucky breaks and some blessings like the gospel. If you're a saboteur from the jump, now that I'm up, don't call my phone. Life is but a dream, I don't wanna wake up. People criticize, my response is so what? Life is what you make it, the risk, will you take it? Will you be yourself or to impress, will you fake it? Life is but a dream, I don't wanna wake up. People criticize, my response is so what? Go ahead, cut that one. You can cut that one. Like Haley said. So that song. Appreciate y'all. That song is called God's Violin 2, and just came from my love for violin music as well as overcoming the criticism that we will face inevitably, no matter what you're doing in life. It resisted a lot of resistance getting sober. When I was fucked up, it seemed all good, but get sober. Sometimes people might not like the way that you change, so just be cautious of that. So the next song, I don't know what it is, but play it. I know the words though. This is that one. Record. I hear that beat drop, the temperature in my body rises. Multifaceted monster, the astronaut ain't no pass. I can stutter on beat. I don't promote no nonsense. I work hard, play hard, go to sleep. Interfering with my trajectory, yo, no baby, vasectomy. Life is what you make it, take the toxic on my recipe. I don't chill with snakes, I'm with the love and the blessings. But you make false allegations and you're dead to me. Rest in peace, middle finger emoji. Expressing with phalanges and be like, oh, that niggas speak English so they can stand me. Sorry, not sorry, I do not fit the mold. Standing on business, casual, kid is cold. Miseryless company, avoiding the Mr. Gold. You see, man, I have so much resistance to my growth. Committed, dedicated to creating, I'm taking an oath, and intuition says that you're problematic. I gotta go. I finally learned to love myself. That bothers you too bad, oh well. This is me said in boundaries, love that upsets you. So what, so what? I finally learned to love myself. That bothers you too bad, oh well. This is me said in boundaries, love that upsets you. So what? I hate dealing with people that refuse to take accountability. Continue to do nonsense while everyone's for your misery. The truth seems harsh when you're faking sensitivity. I will not co-sign bullshit, no, that's stupidity. But this is life, it is what it is. Your prerogative. I'm a social butterfly, you're fake, I'm not too talkative. Even in the rules of recovery, there's seemingly politics. So I guess right now we're cool, just depends on who you rock with. Some relationships are fake, I'm not mad, I just acknowledge it. I'll learn some tools for self-control, shout out to my psychologist. Great without apologies, and if you ever hate it, no one gets me off. Though I'm celibate, celebrated, devastated. Where relax is 51, 52, chained to a hospital bed without a pair of shoes. I learned to let them love me till I learn to love myself. And I don't take life for granted, if that upsets you, oh well. I finally learned to love myself, that bothers you too bad, oh well. This is me said in boundaries, love that upsets you, so what, so what? I finally learned to love myself, that bothers you too bad, oh well. This is me said in boundaries, love that upsets you, so what, so what? Thank you. I need to record the chorus on that song. So this, before this next song, I believe it's Earthbenders, the next one. I want to bring up a friend of mine who is also in recovery. For this next song, it's called Earthbenders. It's something we just recently did. I believe the mic is right there. Is it? Yeah, do Earth, and then we'll finish off with Push. So this is my boy, Castor Pollux. Testing, testing. Okay. So my boy, Castor. Okay.
There it is. There it
There
is.
we
Make
go.
some noise.
So my boy, Castor Pollux, he's also in recovery. Why? But I'll let you give your own introduction.
Yo, what up, everybody? My name is Castor Pollux. You could call me Bob, Robert, Bobby. I'm representing all stages of my life. So honored to be here in my recovery journey. Me and my man right here, we met at a function with Mike Fiore. I know some of you guys might know him, out in Huntington Beach. And we knew a bunch of people who did hip-hop as well, and then we are both on our path, and we decided to do this song. He invited me to get on this song. I'm so honored to be here. I'm just so honored to be in my sobriety and to honor everybody in their sobriety. 1 day, 100 days, 20 years, whatever it is, it's a challenge, and we are so blessed to have each other, to support each other. So I'm super grateful for everybody in the house. Make some noise for yourselves.
Right.
Wait. I said make some noise for yourselves. Yeah, but.
All right. So this song is called Earthbenders from one of my favorite cartoons, Avatar: The Last Airbender. So go ahead and drop that.
You guys gonna catch it. In the chorus, we say, I love it. And I want you guys by the end of the song to be saying that with us, all right? Say, I love it. All right, let's go. You got it.
We self-destructive, it's so
So
good.
good.
They encourage you, like you so
Crazy.
Make a positive change, your shift, dynamic relationship is amazing. Haters are hardly solo, they're more or less congregating. If I sincere snake, I'm black Casper, I'm ghost, I'm not explaining. I don't have no patience for nonsense.
What?
And your body language more honest. If a friendship ending is over with, I don't need closure, I'm good, I
Promise.
Knowing our words you cannot spell like narcissism when you're toxic. It's a toxic masculinity to hold you accountable for broken promise. That's a rhetorical question. Some endings are a blessing. I walk into these new beginnings with healed wounds and lessons. I go to the gym when I don't feel like it, pray, meditate, and eat breakfast. I accept my past mistakes, forgave myself, and build like Tetris. That dash between the two dates is of utmost importance. It's let's go and
Let's go.
This thing is so important. I keep it moving like an earthbender, like my last name Bayphone. Life is what you make it. It ain't no guarantee that I'll stay long.
This moment that I have right now.
Live it to the fullest, make y'all proud.
Do my thing, God, I mean. Say it with me, say it loud. I love it.
Moment I have right now, live it to the fullest, make y'all proud. Do my thing, God, I mean.
Say it with me, say it
I
loud.
love it. Do my thing, God, I mean.
I love it.
Say it with me, say it loud.
I love it.
Do my thing, God, I mean. I love it.
Let's go. This is self-love manifested. We worth it, no question. Intention, keep going. Modify maps so we learn these lessons. Blessings on blessings. Receive it. I'm open. Create till death till there ain't no breath until that heart is open. Focus like a shamatha. Yoga poses, prana's up. Showing up, that's half the fight. We are the light that's in the dark. Where I walk, gotta walk. Quantum talk, we changing thoughts. I found myself when I was lost. I paid the tolls, I paid the none of the wrongs, that river the ghost. Pounded by demons who feeding our souls. Helping my people who feeling alone and we feeding the hungry and teaching them no. They are the ones that we looking out for. In the bed, you power to go. Get on the road and start walking it, bro. Map is unknown, but the path will unfold. Every step, another is shown. All of this growth for the seeds that are sown. Showing these seeds what it means to be grown. I'm a full-time father. Overtime flow, yo, the grids will blow through. Things will change up, achieving these goals every day I wake up. Gratitude for the dude I came from. I'm right now.
This moment I have right now, live it to the fullest, make y'all proud. Do my thing, you know what I mean?
Say it with me, say it loud.
This moment I have right now, live it to the fullest, make y'all proud. Do my thing, you know what I mean?
Say it with me, say it loud. I love it.
Do my thing, you know what I mean?
I love it.
Say it with me, say it loud, I love it. Do my thing, you know what I mean?
I love it.
Say it with me, say it loud.
I love it. One more time, say I love it.
One more time. Gotta love it. I
Man.
love y'all, man. This.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Absolutely. Now, stick with me. I'm gonna finish with this last song. This one you might be familiar with. Just one word. It's called Push. And this is my journey through recovery and getting sober and getting my head on the fucking straight and narrow. So, my sponsor told me that I couldn't fucking do anything creatively until I got to the 9th step, so I fucking pushed through the motherfuckers so fast. But I did have changes in the midst of doing that. So go ahead and drop that for me, my boy. Appreciate you.
If you know it, sing along with them.
Push, baby, push. You know you gotta push, baby, push.
What? Push, baby, push.
You know you gotta push, baby, push.
Ha.
Push. It was fake, makeshift. I had to make a shift, and it had to make sense. How am I supposed to tackle this?
Ha.
Sobriety for starters. Listen to people that are smarter. So it's feeling drained like a phone without a charger. They say push, baby, push like a birth of a stroller. That will get gradually better if you stay sober. These promises, aren't they extravagant? Well, look at the game you've been playing. What are you averaging? 5150s, blackouts destroy relationships. Didn't need alcohol to indulge in the craziness. Couldn't even laugh, but I was so full of the hatred. Backtracking in life, was worse it can blaze. And they say push, baby, push like a birth of a stroller. Life got gradually better when I stay sober. These promises, they weren't so extravagant. Stop playing the games that I was, now life is immaculate.
Push, baby, push.
You know you gotta
Push, baby, push. Push, baby, push.
You know you gotta push, baby,
Push.
push.
Push, baby, push. Push, baby, push.
Push, 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 baby, push.
Let's go. Don't stop, don't stop. Don't stop.
push, baby, push.
Because you're worth it. Hey.
I want to thank y'all so much. Shout out to the ladies. This recovery shit is not an easy road, but you have people with you. Connect, fellowship. Look at the similarities, fuck the differences. Fuck the differences, because that shit will keep you out of a fucking sponsor, out of people to connect with. Like, oh, they may not get me because of whatever, fill in the blank. We've all been in fucking hell because we created it for ourselves in addiction. So, push together. I love y'all. That's it.
Yes, yes.
Am I on? Am I? Thank you, fellas. Appreciate it.
Hello. Can we give it up again for Multifaceted Monster? Woo! I really do like that song, Push Baby Push.
Yes.
Gets me fired up.
And we love the crowd participation as well.
Oh wait, I
anything
thought I
that
wasn't
makes you
doing this
dance.
tonight.
You were Chad. We all know you're gonna be right here too.
All right, we're gonna get the actual meeting started
Yes.
now. We had a couple people grab the
readings. So the first two. So whoever has not the closing.
the steps and
Yes.
the opening reading. Come on up.
It's your time to shine.
Your time to shine.
Who do you want first? This one? The steps?
Yeah.
Yep.
Not me.
Hi, I'm May. I'm an alcoholic. Hello, we welcome to our monthly in-person Recover Out Loud meeting. We're so glad you're here. Recover Out Loud is more than a meeting, it's a movement to show that world that recovery is not only possible, but that life in recovery can be beautiful, fulfilling, and full of purpose. While we are not a program, we stand in the belief that recovery requires action. We encourage everyone to keep doing what works for you daily, whether it's attending meetings, speaking spiritual guidance, connecting with your support system, or any practice that keeps you on the path to sobriety. Tonight is about connection, hope, and courage. By sharing our stories and showing up authentically, we break the stigma surrounding addiction and mental health. Together, we remind the world and ourselves that help is available and hope is alive. Thank you for being here. Let's get it started!
All right. My name is Christina. I'm a grateful alcoholic. Although we are not affiliated with any specific 12-step group, many of us have found our recovery through the principles of the 12 steps. These are steps that have guided countless individuals towards freedom from addiction and a new way of life. We share them tonight as a reminder of tools that have helped so many of us achieve and maintain our sobriety. The 12 steps. Number 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol and that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, we humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. 8, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, we made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them and others. 10, we continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for the knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry the message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs.
Thank you, ladies. And you guys, just to give you a little kind of flow of the night, so we're going to have 2 women come up, share their story for about 10 minutes each, right? And then we're going to break for 5, and then we'll have our amazing guest speaker, Abby, bring the house down. But before we get into it, for those that don't know, my name is Natalie Eva Marie. I am a Hopeaholic. From, of course, the Hopeaholics podcast. As you can tell, Chad Carlson to my left, Shane over here. You can't miss the dance man, that whatever performance that was earlier. And before we get started, I just really want to say thank you to everybody that makes this meeting possible. So there's a lot, from our kitchen. I mean, over there, if you guys have not had any coffee or little desserts or treats, I highly recommend it because it's really cute over there. Obviously, to the front row right here, the Carlson family. Without you guys, none of this exists. So thank you guys. I love each and every one of you. And of course, without God in all of our lives, we wouldn't be here today. So I'm very thankful to be in this position that I am in today and to have this meeting, to have all the women that are sharing tonight, give you guys a little bit of their experience, strength, and hope. So, do you have some
I just
words?
have a really quick, I always like to remind people why the Hopeaholics podcast exists. On 9/11 of 2022, I was shaving my head. It was a Sunday morning, like I always do, getting ready to go to the gym. I looked down at my phone, and it was ringing. It was 7:30 a.m., and it was my daughter. And she never calls me that early on a Sunday morning because she works till about 3 o'clock in the morning. And I knew something was wrong. And when I answered the phone, I just heard her screaming. The kind of scream that somebody is gone. And she told me that Justin is dead. Justin was the love of her life, her fiancé, the only love that she's ever known besides her father and her grandparents. My daughter had a pretty rough upbringing. Her mom is a heroin addict and never got clean. And I've been raising her since she was 36 days old. She's was raised in Narcotics Anonymous. And today I want to tell you guys that she finally came to Cindy, who's sitting right here. I can see Cindy. She called Cindy and told her that she had been feeling suicidal and that she finally was ready to work on the death of Justin. And she is currently in a trauma workshop rehab. And she just called me today and said she's doing so well, she wants to stay another 2 weeks. So, yeah. And it's been over 2 years, and it takes what it takes, man. It takes what it takes. And we started this because we want people to know that it's okay to hurt inside, that it's okay to reach out and ask for help, because we've all been there. A lot of people know my story. And, I stayed out there for a little while after I relapsed as an owner of a treatment center because of the shame and the guilt that I felt, man. And you know what? The only shame that we have is in not asking for help. And that's why the Hopeaholics exist. This is why all of this is happening. So,
and this is why we Recover Out Loud, is because we don't want people to die in silence. So even though the Hopeaholics really got created through a tragedy, Justin's legacy continues to live on through us being in this building tonight and carrying our own personal messages, because each and every one of us has a story, and those stories need to be told so that we don't lose anybody else, because you're not alone. Anybody that's struggling, it's really important, and that's why I'm so thankful to have joined the crew here, because breaking the stigma, there's no shame. So help is available and hope is alive. So let's get this party started.
All right, first up we have
Amy.
Amy.
Let's go, Amy.
Hi, my name's Amy. I'm a recovered alcoholic. I know I thought I'd be able to see you guys up here, but it's just a black sea of nothingness. So I have a sobriety date of November 14th of 2019. God does get the credit for that. Clap for God, honestly. It's not, the only thing that I did was work the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm standing here and I'm sober because my probation officer made me go to detox. I did all 12 steps in order and I recovered against my will. It's as simple as that. I wanted nothing you guys had. I was nothing like you. I had a homeless problem, not a meth problem. I was shooting up so I could stay awake and stay alive on the streets because I'm pretty and I'm single and I live in Santa Ana in a tent. Wouldn't you do the same thing? I don't know. It's I lived most of my adult life very high functioning. I was a normie for all intents and purposes. I didn't get loaded at work. I maintained a 17-year career in one single field. I drove really, really nice cars, owned property, lived overseas, lived across the country, did all the things I was supposed to do on paper. So you couldn't convince me that I had a problem. You really couldn't. A couple times my dad tried and it ended not well for him either time, poor man. But there's one thing that I like to impress upon people that may be questioning whether or not they should be here, or they wonder what rock bottom is. Rock bottom is not circumstantial. Rock bottom is a feeling. Like you hear oftentimes you need to work on the condition and not the circumstances. The condition is that I'm an alcoholic. I have a God-sized hole in my heart that I'm trying to fill with anything and everything other than God. But only God can fill that space. And until I do that, it's always going to be empty and I'm always going to want more of whatever it is that I'm searching for. So that feeling of rock bottom is the feeling of knowing that you don't deserve the love that you so desperately crave. It's the feeling of knowing that the air that you're breathing is a waste, that your life is pointless and useless, and if you could will your heart to stop beating, that you absolutely would. God made a mistake when he made you. I've had that feeling living in a really nice home, driving a really nice car, making a shitload of fucking money. I've had that feeling in the gutter in Santa Ana with a needle in my neck. I identify as an alcoholic because I worked the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's not the only way to get sober, but to save my fucking life, right? I think the main theme throughout all of these 12 steps programs is that you do require connecting with something greater than yourself. I do talk about God a lot when I'm up on stage, or at a podium or wherever the hell I'm at, because God is an integral part of my sobriety and my life, right? There's nothing you can tell me today or say to me that would convince me today that God is not real, because God has shown up for me time and time again throughout my entire life, even before I realized he was doing so. How I define God doesn't matter. All you need to know is that I have one. But if you don't want to do business with God, or you're not quite ready to do business with God, or you're not sure if God's real, that's okay. In Alcoholics Anonymous, that's enough. Being willing to believe is enough to get started around here. I looked up the definition of willingness just because I was curious how Webster defined it, and just said being ready to do something. That's it. If I'm willing to believe in God, it means I'm ready to believe in God, which means I'm going to pray, even though it may feel like I'm talking to nothing. I'm going to look for God in people, places, and things and everything around me, and I'm going to try to see how God may reach out to me. But what I've learned is that God made me and God knows my heart. God is going to speak to me and reach out to me in whatever way I need to be spoken to so that I can see the presence of God working in my life. You want to call it God, you want to call it a higher power, source, universe, whatever works for you. And that's the beauty of this program, right? And the cool thing is I've learned over the course of time through watching people and, doing what I need to do or what I've learned to do over the course of the last 5 years is there's no right way to pray or wrong way to pray. There's no right way to meditate or wrong way to meditate. You just have to do it. Prayer is speaking to God. Meditating is listening for his answer. So, though I like to give an example such as this, right? Everybody has that friend that never shuts the fuck up, right? Like, never shut. You can't get a word in edgewise to save your fucking life. And they claim that you are their best friend, right? But you don't even know them because you never get to talk to them, right? And you're like, yeah, they're an acquaintance. I tolerate them, right? Because obviously I'm a good listener. Well, how the fuck do you think God feels if you never slow down to listen for God's response and all you're doing is praying and begging and pleading, but you never stop to think, hey, maybe God's speaking to me. Maybe God's showing me something, right? You want to pause a little bit. Even if all you can do is 2 to 5 minutes in the morning, but meditation, there's like a vast, it's not all like like being quiet. And it's not always that way. For you, it could be coloring while listening to music. For me, my brain is never quiet until I have a paintbrush in my hand. But it's silence at that point. It could be crocheting. It could be reading a book. It could be sitting in the sand. It could be, but give a bunch of different things a try, right? It's all new to you. It's all new to me. I let my faith and my understanding of God grow each day. Who God was to me when I got here is not who God is to me today. I've just seen too many things throughout the last 5 years that have just kind of changed my perspective, but I remain open-minded, and I keep an open heart. When I did my last shot, I remember I knew with all of my core that homelessness was my problem. If I could just get off the streets, everything would be fine. And it was because I had, unfortunately, the experience of living a very, very, very successful life, being loaded for pretty much the entirety of it. And I knew if I could just get my feet underneath me again, I could, I knew that Medi-Cal would pay for 7 days of detox. It would pay for 90 days of, inpatient treatment facility. And then it would pay for 4 months of sober living as long as I was in an IOP program. That was me enough time for me to get my shit together, get a job, get my own pad again, get a car, and then I can go live my life, right? But something happened. I don't know, like I said, I recovered against my will. My life was getting better. I was feeling better. Let me correct myself. My life wasn't getting better, but I was feeling better, right? My life was still a shit show for a very long time because I had destroyed it. But I remember, I went into the bar room of a place called the Corner Pocket across the street from the Rock Center, which is a Stanton detox, and I did my last shot. Anybody that shoots up knows that when you put that rig in and you hit register for the first time, push the whole shot, it's a fucking beautiful moment, right? And that's what happened to me. It was really nice. It was great. But the very first thing that crossed my mind as soon as I pulled that needle out of my arm was, this sucks. I just could not stand the way that I felt anymore. I just couldn't. And I didn't realize probably about 3.5, 4 years later that in that moment I did have what's called the gift of desperation. I thought the gift of desperation meant that I was desperate to get sober, but I was not. But I was desperate to stop feeling the way that I felt. And in that moment, I surrendered to whatever it was I was about to do. I didn't know what it was going to be. I had no idea it was going to be Alcoholics Anonymous. If I had, I probably wouldn't have done it. But I just was done, right? So I went into detox. I slept for 6 days. I'm a tweaker. That's what we do. I got up, I went to Wood Glen, spent 90 days there, and I did everything that God put in front of me to do. And I was lost, and I made stupid decisions a lot of times. It took me 14 months to find a sponsor that taught me how to be a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't know, I guess I'll end it with this, right? If you struggle with the idea of God, you need some kind of physical proof. Is there anyone in here, and if you can say this, shout, let me see you, let me hear you. Is there anyone here that believes that love is not real? Okay, so we all agree love exists and it's real, right? Somebody put it in my hand. Somebody come up here and give it to me. Nobody? Well, how do you know it's real? Right, because you feel it. God is no different, right? God is a feeling. You know that God is with you because you feel the presence of God, and it's not something I can teach you. It's not something I can show you. It's something I can describe as far as I know or feel it. But it's an experience only you're going to have when you make the effort to reach out, right? If you want something different, something better, you got to put some effort into it, My family, we like to say, what you get here, you must earn. There is work to be done in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous or any program that you're going to be doing. If you want to get sober, it's going to require something different. It's going to require self-sacrifice. It's going to require making amends, fixing things that you messed up. But oh my God, is it worth it? It's so fucking worth it, you guys. I'll end with this. When I was in Wood Glen, I think probably had between 30 and 45 days sober. We had our alumni meeting. I was getting some coffee, and one of the alumni came up to me and asked me how I was doing, and I said, I'm okay. And she looked at me and she said, okay is good around here. And even with that little amount of time, I understood the gravity of that statement. All I ever wanted to be was okay. That was it. I just wanted to be okay. Today, I'm okay no matter what happens in my life. Through the death of my father, through the death of friends, the death of sponsees, through the good and the bad, I am always okay. I might be sad, I might be grieving, I might be excited, I may be experiencing extreme joy, but I'm always okay. I always have peace. And when I first got sober, I could define peace as Webster would define it in the dictionary. However, I didn't realize I'd never known or felt peace until I actually found it, and I felt it through the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and God. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you so much. You guys, give another round of applause I mean, that was incredible, and I've been around the program quite some time, and I don't think I've ever heard the analogy of the love and God correlation, so I loved that. I might steal it and use it and put it in my pocket.
All you have to do is say it 3 times and it's yours, right? Isn't that the Narcotics Anonymous rule? I got one time in
There
AA,
you go.
okay.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'll make sure I give you a little credit, though.
I mean, in Woodglen, huh? Yeah. That's the real deal right there.
I love it. That was amazing. Thank you. All right. Hip, hip, hooray. Murray, you're up. I like that you used that because that really helped me out big time.
That's how we remember her name.
Yeah.
Hip, hip,
Hooray.
Murray.
Murray.
Hip, hip.
Murray.
All right, everybody go with us. Hip,
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 Murray. Hip, hip,
Murray.
hip, hip,
Murray.
hip, hip.
Oh, I've never spoke. Hey, Murray, alcoholic. I've never spoke holding the microphone. This is gonna be a real test for me. I just want to go push, push, push. You know what I mean? What would I do for my recovery, man? I would walk 500 miles. Anyway, my sobriety date is February 4th, 2014. Thank you. Thank you. I got 2 eyebrows now. Oh, man. Haven't lost those in a long time. Anyway, I'm so grateful to be here. I love what you guys do. You know, I'm adopted. You know, I was born in 1969. That's probably why my name's so crazy. We all know what mom and dad were doing in the 60s, you know. They're like, hey, we're going to name her Murray, you know. But, you know, growing up for me was really different. You know, I looked nothing like my mom, looked nothing like my dad. We moved around a lot. And every time we moved, I had a new dad. I've had 7 fathers, and every one of those were in the military or law enforcement. And what does that have to do with alcoholism? Everything. What does that have to do with addiction? Everything. I had no idea that this was a thinking problem. You know, one of those dads told me I was the ice cream man's baby. And I believe that. I was the only kid, 7 years old, stopping the ice cream truck, and I bought bubblegum cigarettes. Because we do what we see, right? Now, it's interesting, I haven't smoked dope. I haven't had any alcohol. But I was looking at the driver to see if that was my dad. You know, things are said to us and things are done to us. You know, I don't have a lot of time to go over my whole 32 years of drinking and using. You know, I'm a miracle standing up here, and every one of you in here is a miracle, including the family members that have been praying for us, man. You know? And I've had 10 surgeries in sobriety. So I'll get to that in just a second. But, you know, a lot of domestic violence is in my history. One of those fathers molested me. And I have a lot of trauma, you know. And I blamed myself for that, you know. And I drank over that. You know, I started drinking at 14, and I was a blackout drinker from the get-go. You know, I didn't know that if you didn't remember what you did the night before, that wasn't normal, you know? And when I take a drink, the drink took me, you know? We'd be at happy hour, and the next thing you know, my friends are looking for me, and I'm in Compton Watts with a nylon on my head with a sawed-off shotgun going, how did I get here? You know what I mean? Like, wait a minute, I was in Irvine and I'm in Compton. How did that happen? I don't know about you guys, but I wanted to drink like everybody else. Why can't I drink like everybody else? My friends go home, they got jobs, they got their families. Over and over and over again, broken promises. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to do it for my kid. I'm going to do it for my mom. I'm going to do it for my dad. I'm going to do it for my husband. And I meant it. I meant it from my soul. I had no idea what an addict, alcoholic, all I knew is that I wanted to control. I'm only going to do it on the weekends. I could clean it up really, really good, get the good job, and do one bump and lose it all. Just like that. But I tried to control. You know, when I came in this last time, methamphetamine was killing me. I don't know if you guys saw me running around. I had to pee like 42 times while I was here. You know what I mean? You know, when I came into to a meeting and didn't even know it was a meeting, I had to be catheterized to urinate. You know, meth was killing me. You know, my intentions were I just want to do one, man. We're going to go to the concert. I didn't come out of the motel room for 6 months. And my friends are knocking on the door. I'm like, I'm looking for my eyebrow. I am so grateful. You know, I am so grateful. So grateful. You know, pain is the touchstone of our recovery. Because I've been through more in these last 10 solid years than I did in the 32 years, man, I was drinking. And music is a huge thing, and I love what you do. Because I'll be having a bad day, and I'll turn on the song, and it's like, I'm gonna make a change. I'm like, oh, no. Let me change that one. You know, I'm having a bad day or some bad news, and I'm like, all right, I would walk 500. It's the truth. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I chase the dope. I mean, I would ride a tricycle with one tire on it, man. I'm not kidding. I didn't even care. One eyebrow and everything. I'm coming. And it's raining outside, and you're sweating. God, it's hot out here. You got any chapstick? But you know, this last time I was broken. I was on a boys' BMX. I mean, I was broken every time, man. But let me tell you something. A broken crayon still colors. And the most beautiful part about that is there's two pieces. Recover with us and recover out loud, baby. I love it. But I rolled into a meeting and I didn't even know it was a meeting. You know, this is a disease that centers in our minds. You know what the 12 steps have taught me? I gave myself the title of the black sheep. I gave myself that title. All that anger and rage and mad at my mom and that dad. You know what? When I worked my 9th step, I got to know my mom. Do you know my family feared me their whole life? And when I made my 9th step amends, I found out that my mom never had a father. And my whole life I'm running around, bitch, slut. I'm not going home. I'm going to have another dad. You know? The 12 steps are amazing. But I want to tell you really quick how my journey started, man. I'm on a boys' BMX bike. I probably stole it. But I did make amends. I donated a bike to a children's home in sobriety, okay? But that's the beauty, man. And I rolled up, and I was just on the streets. I mean, I was making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then on a boys' BMX bike, man, you know? And I'm riding and I hear laughter. And I'm so hungry because I was out on the streets, man, eating fruit off of every tree going, I hope they have an orange tree. I'm so sick of the grapefruits. I mean, I had so many canker sores in my mouth. I'm like, rah, 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 when I came in. Oh my gosh. And I rolled into a meeting and I didn't even know it was a meeting because I saw smoke. I needed a cigarette. And I was hungry, but the laughter is what I missed. My family was done with me. And that is how my journey started. I didn't even know it was a meeting. I go, hey, man, you got a cigarette? You know, that's what we do. You got what I want? I got a cigarette, and then I got donuts. And then I had an old-timer go, Jesus Christ, where's your eyebrow? And your arm looks like it's broken. I had a broken wrist, broken jaw, and 2 broken fingers when I came in. And I didn't even know it. And I'm riding that bike. You guys were miracles. You need to really, I just want to close with this. If I could carry a message, when the going gets tough, you get tougher. Because let me tell you something. Sobriety hasn't been easy, but boy, has it been the most beautiful thing that has ever happened in my life. I've had surgery after surgery after surgery. Last year I was almost paralyzed, man. And I'm carrying a message. When I first got sober, I was septic, and I got a PICC line on, and I'm carrying a message in front of 300 people with this machine going, a lady in the front's going, what's that? I go, I'm dying. We're going to carry a message right now. But you want to know something? I didn't die. I'm walking today. I got more titanium than a Home Depot receipt. I mean, it's like, wow, it's like so long. And I was going to take this off, and I might have something else medically going on. I said, oh, my God, I look like a tweaker right now. I've lost 20 pounds, and there's no place I'd rather be than carrying a message because you helped me. See, when shit hits the fan, I don't see anybody anymore. People stop going to meetings. They start comparing themselves to other people like I did. I'm going to meetings, it's 2 years, and my family still doesn't want me around, and a girl has 6 months. She's like, my whole family's coming. My dad bought me a BMW. I'm like, you bitch. Let me tell you something. I didn't get my family right back, but I got them back. I mean, there's not enough time to go over the whole thing, but everything you think that is not going to happen, it's going to come back. It's almost like God did for me, and I know what I could never do for myself. And we cannot overthink the God thing. But it's not in our time, man. Because even with 4 years, I'm going to close with this. Just because you get sober does not mean your behaviors change. Because my family thought I was loaded for a long time. Because I was still angry, you know? I was in the grocery store, my mom was back with me, and this lady's like, hi, you know, I was still mad at everybody, man. I'm like, what are you talking to my mom for? You know, like, why would I do that? And then my mom was so embarrassed by me. I'm talking too loud, I blew it up. Just kidding. Oh, that means I'm done. Oh. I was telling him, I go, oh my gosh, you just can't shut me up. Let me tell you something. This high is the high I've craved my whole life. And you know what the high and the power is? It's God. And after I speak, I want to go home and vacuum, and I don't have carpet. It's the truth. But anyway, about the lady at the grocery store, my mom was embarrassed. She walked away. The lady saw me later and said, I just wanted to tell you, remind me of my daughter, and you're so beautiful. Aww. And she just passed away. Aww. See, we think we know everything. You know? When I was taking the bus and in sober living, I thought this guy was looking at me, man, and I was pissed. My head is running. All those false beliefs, all those lies that we tell ourselves, man. And I wanted to kick his butt. And yada, yada, yada. I'm calling my sponsor. I go, this guy's looking at me. She goes, say the serenity prayer. I'm like, oh, my God. That will be done. God, bring me the serenity prayer. Read your big book. You know, I'm like, you know, there's no wrong way to pray. I heard it tonight. In the beginning, I was saying fuck and God in the same sentence, man. Until I started feeling it. And you want to know, that guy got off the bus, and he walked right past me.
Amazing. Thank you.
Can we give it up one time? Hip, hip. Hip, hip.
Okay, you guys.
We're going to take a quick break, but was that not the female version of Danny Lansdale?
100%.
Huh?
Yes. Thank you,
I
ladies.
called up Danny Lansdale a few weeks back and I said, hey, Danny, I need the female version of you for this night. Boom.
There it is.
Thank you. Incredible. All right, guys, 5 minutes, and then I expect everybody back in here. Hello? Oh, there it is. My microphone's working again. Well, this is ladies' night, and I feel all right, because this is ladies' night. Oh, what a night. Oh, what a night. You guys think I should quit my day job? Everybody said no. You guys don't think I'm as good as a multifaceted monster? Let me try it. Push, baby, push. You gotta push, baby, push. No? Nah, I suck, I know. My wife's over here looking at me like, stop it. Stop it, you're embarrassing me. All right, where is everybody? It's been over 5 minutes. I see everybody outside, but I don't have any, you guys all ready to get this party back rolling? Yell at everybody out there, say, hey, let's go. Yeah. My dad said to sing. What should I sing? You got to know when to hold 'em.
Oh, gosh.
Know when to fold 'em. Know when to walk away. And know when to run. You never count your money. There'll be time enough for counting.
I love how the parents work, though. Your dad's saying, yes, 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 but your wife's saying, no, no, no. It's about right. It's about right.
Yeah. My dad wants me to embarrass myself, and my wife's
That's
like,
right.
please don't embarrass me.
That's exactly right. Are we waiting for some? There we go.
Yeah, go outside, tell them all to come in.
They're coming. Hi, fellas. Hi.
PRP's in the house.
Yes,
We
they
got
are.
the Hawaiians.
Amazing. Where's Shane? There you are.
Shane, what are you doing sitting out there in the dark?
You guys make sure you get enough of the snacks, because I'm like literally can't wait to go ham over there in a few. Good? Amazing.
All right. It's about that time.
It's about that time. It's about that time. It's main event time. You guys, this next speaker, who is going to bring the house down as well. For those that haven't listened to her, she's been on our podcast. That's when we initially first got to meet the amazing Abbey.
She's the reason why I am now a vlogger. I don't know if any of you guys have.
Oh, gosh.
I don't know if
guys,
any of you guys
Chad-
have subscribed, but it's at Chaddict on YouTube.
This dude seriously thinks he's Jake Paul. Like, he's done like two videos.
I've dropped
but,
four
you know,
vlogs, guys. 4 vlogs. I've been inspired by Abby.
yes.
She's a real YouTuber.
No, but she's amazing. Her story is incredible. She's a mother. She talks about her sobriety. She's been through a ton, and she's a real inspiration because, you know, it just goes to show from the women that have already shared their story tonight, both of them, this disease, it doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, how you were raised, it does not matter. And I feel like the women tonight that have shared earlier, and then when you'll hear Abby, it's exactly proof is in the pudding. Like, each woman is completely different and was raised differently, and they suffer from the same thing. And that's the disease of addiction and alcoholism, which is, I mean, if it's not treated, it's deadly. And that's why we recover out loud.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Without further ado,
let's welcome Abbey Fickley.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. His vlogs are incredible. Yeah. I said it's a lot of fun because you see, yeah, I know. You know what? I know. Natalie keeps reminding me of this. We can't let it get to his head too much. It's cool to see his personal life. That's all I was going to say. It's cool to see what sobriety brings people. You know what I mean? The background stuff. Hi. Like they had mentioned, I appreciate the introduction. My name is Abby. I have been free from mind-altering substances and free from the chains of addiction and alcoholism since April 24th of 2018, if I can remember. You know, it's funny, I was on a plane on my way here, and I started to think, I'm like, what do I want to say? What do I want to talk about? What I found one of my favorite things to do, one of my passions in sobriety, is to speak to the adolescents, to speak at high schools, and that's something that I found myself doing really within the past 2 years. And I haven't spoke as much at meetings lately, and I'm like, oh my God, okay, these are adults. I'm not talking to kids, and I'm on the plane, and I'm like really starting to overthink, and I'm questioning, what am I gonna say? And I love to just wing it, right? Because then I know that it has truly come from God. And that's always my primary intention, because at the end of the day, I can be nervous, but it's just that it's simply not about me, right? And it's so much more important to share the message, and I have been grateful enough to survive a lot of incredibly difficult things and gain people back in my life, and it is my responsibility to share that message and that experience, strength, and hope, and so that's what I'm gonna do my best to do here today. The other reason why I was a little bit nervous and trying to think about what I was gonna talk about is because in the, God willing, hopefully, almost 7 years that I have been sober, I don't think I've ever gone through anything quite as difficult as I have faced in 2024, and unfortunately leading into 2025. My life I have found a lot of difficult things have come up, and with my career choice and what I do, a lot of it is public, and my life is public, and things have happened that have been very, very difficult. And one thing that I've always appreciated about addiction is when things go wrong, when things are hard, I can say things like, well, at least I wake up and I don't need heroin to get a shower, you know what I mean, to brush my teeth and to get out of my bed. At least I'm not sleeping on the beach because it's really cold. You know, and there's all these ridiculous things that most normies, whatever that means, right, don't really experience or don't really say. And so there's a lot of privilege in the fact that I can pretty much be grateful no matter what I'm going through in sobriety. But I'll tell you what, this stuff lately has tried me. Like, it's tried me, you know? And so I think what's important, and the reason why I bring that up is because, of course, sobriety has brought so many beautiful things to my life, like incredible things, tangible and non-tangible. And at the end of the day, again, I have so much gratitude for every single thing that I have gotten back, everything that addiction took from me, that I was able to get back, things that I couldn't even have thought up in my wildest dreams. What is so important about these hard times is that not only am I surviving them sober, but it's really the mess that I try to sit in. It's really the mess that I try to pay attention to and think of all of the things that were horrible and how much better they are now. It's been a tough time. And I'm really grateful for those hard times, and I'm doing my best to push through them, and I'm going to circle back and touch more on that in a little bit. So to back up, I was very fortunate for the way I grew up, in the sense that we had everything that we needed. I was privileged in the sense that I was a kid that ran around barefoot in a cul-de-sac. I had a mom and a dad that are still together to this day. I was laughing when you said that you don't look like your mom or your dad. Neither do I. They are my brother would tell me that they weren't my parents, and I started to believe him because we really look nothing alike, but at the end of the day, it's true. They are my blood relatives. It turns out. I feel a little more sorry for them than myself when I say that. But I'm the youngest of 3. I have an older sister. I have an older brother. I'm the baby. I grew up, like I said, in a cul-de-sac in a nice neighborhood, like I said, having the things that we needed. And so my childhood was normal. I had smaller things, little things that bothered me. I also self-identified as the black sheep of the family. I kind of did that to myself. And I remember the day that I really thought about that. I'm like, who is making me feel so different from everyone else? Like, who is responsible for this? My sister went to college, just like my mom and dad. My brother went to college. My mom's a doctor, my sister's a doctor, my dad's an architect, brother computer science, and I'm like, well, I want to go to beauty school. And nobody cared, you know what I mean? My parents were excited for me. They helped me get there financially, well, in, all the ways, emotionally, physically. My dad would drive me there. And really, ultimately, it was me. It was me that separated myself. It was me that constantly didn't feel good enough. It was me that was different from my brother and sister. And I will say, there's a little bit of an age gap. My siblings are a little closer in age. And then the doctors told my mom she couldn't have any more kids. And then I was like, hey, here I came. Here I am. Really gave them a run for their money. So there was a little bit of an age gap, and they were very close. And I felt a little bit left out a lot of the time. Like, my brother was real cool when it was just him and I. My sister was real cool when it was just her and I. But when all 3 of us were together, I was totally the odd man out. My brother picked on me a lot. He did a lot of crazy things to me, locked me in a lot of closets, things that, real trauma, real big brother trauma. But ultimately, I'm grateful for my siblings. I'm grateful for my family. And I only say that to say a lot of the things that I experienced, in a lot of the ways I didn't feel good enough, those were all coming from within. And so life remained pretty normal. I go to high school. I was a competitive cheerleader a lot of my life. That was definitely something that I enjoyed and I put a lot of focus into. It wasn't even something pushed on me by my parents. It was like, I want to do this. My mom's like, these uniforms are expensive. I'm like, I had the wig, the curly wigs sewn into my head, and I'd sew them in myself. My mom could never come because she couldn't stand to see me flying up in the air and all these things. And so there was my dad in the stands with all these crazy cheer moms at every single competition. He's traveling with me, and I love my dad for that. And I love my mom too, but she just couldn't handle it. And so that was something that I really enjoyed and put a lot of my focus into. But what stands out about cheer is, for me, it started with mental health, And I don't know why. I'm just kind of one of those people that I just don't ask for help. I just don't tell people when I'm struggling. I don't know if I don't think anybody can help me. I don't know if I'm embarrassed. I don't know what it is. And even with addiction or recovery, I remained like that until I was literally pushed into a corner where I had nowhere else to go, which of course was the best thing for me. But I specifically remember my dad driving me to cheerleading practice. And I felt, like I was about to go on a roller coaster or do something scary, or I just had those butterflies. I had so much anxiety. And I loved cheer. Cheer was that one thing that I knew I had every week, twice a week, at the same time. It was a comforting feeling. I enjoyed that. There was some sense of security within the consistency, I guess. My coaches scared the living shit out of me. They were very mean. If you missed a practice, they're like, again, another one. But I loved it, and I think the discipline I appreciated. So I couldn't understand why I felt like this when my dad would drive me to cheer twice a week. I couldn't understand why this feeling was happening. I didn't know what was causing it, and I would flip it out of me, and I would cheer it out of me, and I'd get rid of it when I was there, but that stands out to me. It's something I remember from a very young age because that's when mental health issues began for me. And unfortunately, I didn't say anything about it, and so that just kind of snowballed and got worse and worse and worse. And so I was a half-decent kid. I didn't get into too much trouble. It was things like the neighbors would call and say, Abby's running on the roof again, and parents would have to call and get off the roof, and just like weird stuff, There was a boy down the street that was mean to my friend, and I put his bike in a portage on. I remember getting in a lot of trouble for that. But then on the other end of being that kind of kid, my brother, who could never stand up for himself, another bike story, but some kids took my brother's bike. My mom said to him, Matt, we are not eating dinner until you go get your bike. You go knock on their door and you get your bike. And my brother's like, I'm hungry. I run out the front door, slam the door, I march down the street, and I'm like, give me my brother's bike back. I want to eat dinner. So kind of like, and I did, I got the bike back. And in fact, that's a story that my mom tells quite often, because it is a good depiction of the dynamic in when we were growing up, and me versus my brother. And so, you know, like they say, our defects have character sometimes with the stubbornness and all of the different things. So moving into high school, I was also a cheerleader for my school. And junior year is kind of when I took a turn. I started partaking in the schweed, you know, that's just, it started kind of dating bad boys. I liked guys that drove and that could drive me to school, and my parents hated that. I liked the kind of guy that could never come to the door when he was picking me up, and, you know, I was always so embarrassed. I'm like, Mom, please just let me. She's like, you're not leaving this house until he comes up to this door and introduces himself. I'm like, these are not those kinds of men, Mom. So just like little things like that. And then I started to go downhill even more. I started getting into a little more trouble. My cheerleading coach would tell my parents things, and then we'd get in these big fights, and I'd say things like, my cheerleading coach is destroying our family. You know, everything is everybody else's fault. And so eventually I quit, which is one of my biggest regrets, as silly as that may sound, like it was high school cheerleading. But I had done it my entire life, and then junior year, just quit, you know. So I didn't end up graduating high school as a cheerleader. I threw in the towel. I was done. And then I just kind of started to make bad decisions. I wasn't getting good grades. My friend is the reason why I graduated high school, why I never had to do summer school. I didn't want to be at school. I was skipping school. But I was just smoking. I was drinking, and I was partying. And it's, you know, it's funny once you get sober, you look back on some things and you're like, that wasn't really right. Just to give an example of what we're like as alcoholics, I was told to clean my room by my mom one day, and I didn't want to clean it. I was irritated. I didn't want to have to do it. And so I went down to our basement where my dad has a bar, and he had whatever he had. I didn't care what it was, what color it was, but this time it was Jack Daniels. And I opened a can of Coke. I poured half of the can of Coke out, filled the rest of it up with the Jack Daniels, gave it a little swig, and took that up to my bedroom by myself in my bedroom in high school. And I'm drinking this Jack and Coke to clean my room. Like the way I was utilizing substance, even for basic tasks like that as a kid, it was just not normal. My friends weren't doing that. Like, we were drinking and partying together, but I was also that friend that's like, how are you just okay with, like, not doing this again tomorrow? Like, I couldn't understand how people could party and they could use substance or they could drink and then the next day just carry on with their life and not obsess over that thing, you know? And I envied that in people for a really long time. But never did it click that maybe I had a problem. You know, because there are three things that categorize something as a disease: something that is fatal, something that is chronic, and something that is progressive. And addiction is all three of those things, right? Alcoholism is all three of those things. So to fast forward, I graduate high school, I go to beauty school. I'm doing all right. Missing some classes, but overall I'm doing all right. I'm dating the local weed dealer out of convenience, you know. That was my primary reason for dating him, I'll say that. We didn't really do much but smoke weed and watch movies and eat junk food, and we enjoyed that time together. 3 months in, I look at him and I'm like, you know, I think I might need to take a pregnancy test. He's like, are you kidding me? I'm like, no, you know. So we take this pregnancy test, and it's positive. And, you know, at this time, I am 19 years old. I don't do my own laundry yet. I live at home with my mom and dad. My parents are going to kill me. You know, I grew up in a Christian Catholic home. I went to church every Sunday. I was an altar server. You know, of course, I did my first Holy Communion. I did, you know, the baptism. I did my confirmation, all those things. I remember Sunday mornings as I got a little bit older. I'd be standing up there, and I would hold the Bible open for the priest to read out of. Now, it was a heavy book. It was a big book. And it would be after a night of partying, right? And I'd be so sick. I would be so nauseous. And I would just stand up there holding this book, and I'd be like, just don't pass out, just don't pass out, 2 more minutes, 2 more minutes. And so, yeah, I went to church my entire life, but I knew my parents were going to kill me, because one thing about my parents and my home and my family, and God bless them, they did their best, and my parents didn't come from much. So they really made a life for us. But of course, there were problems in the house, just like everybody experiences. And one of the biggest ones in my home was, it was much more important how you appear, right, and how you look than how you feel. And I adopted that very quickly at a very young age. And so I just needed to make sure I looked good to everybody, and it didn't really matter how I felt on the inside, as long as I looked okay. And I'll tell you what, that almost killed me. That literally almost killed me. And so that was one of the things that I struggled with. And so I knew, outside of the fact that I wasn't married to this man, and I was only 19, and I didn't have a career, or I wasn't really making much money under my belt, there were so many reasons why I shouldn't have been having a child. But ultimately, I knew that my mom was going to be almost embarrassed. I knew that my mom wasn't going to like the way that looked, that her daughter got pregnant, right? So we decide we're doing this. We're going to do this. I'm going to be a mom. We're going to give this our best go. And my parents almost did kill me, except I was carrying their grandchild, so they spared me that one. And throughout my pregnancy, I completed beauty school. I graduated. I passed my state boards pregnant. I was working at Chick-fil-A from 15 until my daughter was a newborn. So that was really my first job. I learned my work ethic there. And I worked really, really hard throughout my pregnancy. I really did. And at this point, I was able to just stop smoking weed, right? I wasn't doing anything too crazy. So throughout my pregnancy, it was okay in terms of the addiction stuff. It had not gotten worse yet. So I'm trying to make this white picket fence life in this situation where, this guy, we were dating for specific reasons, and I'm pushing so hard to make this look good. I'm trying to make it look like exactly what it should be, but unfortunately, it just wasn't that. And God bless both of us for how young we were. I mean, I remember my dad looking at me and saying, "You can't even take care of yourself. How do you expect to take care of a child?" And that hurt me. It really did, but he was absolutely right. And so where things got really, really rough for me is after I had my daughter, I was experiencing extreme postpartum depression, a monster, right? And of course, didn't really reach out for help. And again, when it came to smoking, that I just enjoyed, but I don't think necessarily it was the solution that other things would end up becoming for me. Because I remember once I finally did reach out for help, and I did go see a doctor, and he handed me a bottle of benzos. No warning. I mean, nothing. Not about the physical dependencies, not about mixing it with alcohol, nothing. I learned all of that on my own. So I remember the first time I took a benzo, and I just remember, oh my God, every insecurity, every fear. I'm not good enough as a mom. I'm not good enough to work in this hair salon with these pro stylists as this little assistant. I'm not a good enough daughter. Every single issue I had, the anxiety, the depression, the insecurities, was gone. All of it was gone immediately. And when I tell you, I clung to that for so long. It was my solution until it wasn't, right? It was my solution until it stopped working. And I tried for a very long time to keep that as my primary solution to absolutely any and every problem. And so I would, drink alcohol on benzos and make really bad decisions, wake up and not, and I would try to play it off too. I'm I pray to God nothing bad happened last night. Because if anybody comes into the salon today and he's "Oh my God, man, last night," I'm just yeah, I have no idea what anybody's talking about. And it was embarrassing. I remember being embarrassed. And the other thing that would happen to me often when it came to not remembering things was, did I pay my friend or not? Did I give her the money for the bottle that we split at the fancy restaurant, that we're trying to be classy and just sit down and drink, and I end up somewhere crazy with crazy people, and I would always kind of leave my friends and go do something else. But I'd wake up the next morning and I'm I can't even ask her if I paid her or not, because then it's going to give away that I don't remember the night at all. But I don't want to not pay her. So that was always a frequent issue for me. But never once was I well, maybe I just shouldn't drink that much, or maybe I shouldn't mix alcohol and benzos. It was no, girl, just pay her before you start drinking. Like this, it's just the insanity is so real. You know what I mean? So, then I got my first DUI. And this is when like the legal issues started coming, you know. But I was still just drinking. I was still prescribed benzos, you know, filing police reports that my purse was stolen so that I could get another prescription. Just like crazy lengths that I would go to get substance, you know. And I started to find some people around that had them, and just things started to escalate a little bit there. And so I got to a point where I wasn't a great mom. I didn't feel like a great mom. I wanted to be a good mom, but I just couldn't be. I'm getting into legal issues. I'm not happy in my relationship. And God bless both of us. We were just very young. But my life was a disaster, you know. So the father of my child and I, we separate. I moved back in with my mom and dad. I can't live with my parents. Like, I just can't. It's impossible for me. Like, I remember the first couple of times I went on vacation with my family, and I love them to death, but it's just a trigger, man. I had to have, like, me and my sponsor came up with this, like, entire plan of how I was going to survive a week on vacation with my parents. Like, I just struggled, you know, and I love my parents, but my mom and I really butted heads, and so when I moved back in with them, it's really when everything just, like, lost control. So I was kicked out of my parents' house. I had nowhere to go with me and my daughter. I move in with, you know, some random person, and then we get to the point where my parents give me this ultimatum. You need to go to treatment, you need to get better, or we will not be in your life. And my first thought, mind you, I'm not necessarily physically dependent to anything. I'm sure I experienced some benzo withdrawals and didn't understand like what I was experiencing, just like kind of felt like shit. But nothing had gotten too crazy yet. So I'm like, I don't need rehab. I don't need rehab. I need my family. I need everybody to love me and support me. And that the stubbornness came out of me in the sense that I was like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to completely turn my life around. I'm going to kill it in the hair salon. I'm going to be a great mom. And then when my family comes and is like, oh, we're so proud of you, I'm going to say, nope, I don't want you in my life. You told me to go to rehab. And so that was my grand plan. I think I lasted like a month or so before I called my mom from some random person's bed who I didn't know. I woke up and had a little bit of a moment. And I called my mom and I said, hey, Mom, I think I'm ready to go to rehab. And I don't necessarily, it's not that I think I didn't need treatment. I was absolutely depending on substances for a lot of things. But I also had like a lot of mental health issues, you know? And I just like to preface my story and this part of my story by saying I do believe that my disease was going to manifest regardless. The way in which it happened, I don't think really necessarily matters so much, as long as we make it back, right? And so I go to treatment from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, by the way. I'm a Yinzer. So I decide to go across the country and go to California to get sober. Well, why? Because I've always wanted to go to California. And so I end up in a treatment facility called Michael's House in Palm Springs. And I spent 30 days of inpatient there. I met some incredible girlfriends who we were just like super duper tight. We clicked, and this was my girl. And after detox, which, okay, so let me say this. I get there and everybody's detoxing. And I'm like, what is going on? You know, I don't need this maintenance, or not maintenance, but I don't need this taper. Immediately, I am spotting out all of the differences. I don't look the way these people look. I don't feel the way these people do. You know, I don't need to detox off of any substances. They're not giving me these drugs to help me detox. I don't belong here. And that was my first mistake, of course, because from there, it was all about the differences. So I was there kind of just making friends, I guess, enjoying the 100-degree weather and hanging out with the palm trees. So they send us to the inpatient facility after detox, which I just hung out in because I didn't need a detox, and they room me with this girl that I had became really close with. They let us be roomies, which looking back now is kind of interesting, but nonetheless, I made a good friend. And her and I decide that, and mind you, I'm thinking that I'm going to go to treatment for 30 days and then I'm going to come home and like be better. You know, I didn't eat, and at this time I was what, 21, 22-ish. I didn't even know what Alcoholics Anonymous was. I didn't even know what Narcotics Anonymous, I mean, I had no idea what any of this was. I was very sheltered in that way because nobody in my family is an addict or an alcoholic, really. I mean, I'm sure down the road there somewhere, but especially my immediate family, nobody struggles. So I wasn't raised around it. I didn't know anybody that struggled with it. So I didn't know any of these things existed. And so I get there, and I'm in this inpatient. That's when they mentioned to me that they had recommended to me 3 months of outpatient. I'm like, all right, I'm not going home. I think I'm going to stay a little bit longer. And so I'm chatting with my therapist, and then I'm simultaneously chatting with my new friend. And we're like, well, let's make sure we go to the same facility. Let's make sure that we go to the same place so that we can stick together and do this thing together. And so we did, and we ended up at a facility in Mission Viejo. And that's what brought me out to Orange County for the first time. And her and I lived in a sober living together. We went to outpatient together. You know, it was a 3-month program, Monday through Friday, doing all the things. And it just so happened that this one specific day, it was like the perfect storm kind of thing. In this moment, her and I, neither one of us went to outpatient that day. So we were home alone at the sober living. In fact, we were out by the pool and we were doing step work. And I don't even remember what kind of conversation started. And she was there, you know, she had some issues with heroin. And so we're chatting and we're going back and forth. One thing leads to another. And we decide that we're going to try and we're going to go cop. Like, we're going to go get this and we're going to do this. And once the decision was made in my mind, like, that was it. There was no going back from there. There was no changing my mind. I had, you know, the fuzzies and all the feelings. And I'm like, I want to do this, you know. So she calls a guy, you know, we go and we meet up with this person at the San Clemente Pier. And that would be the first time that I had ever injected heroin in an outpatient facility in rehab, right? And again, I'm careful when I discuss this because a lot of people are like, okay, so you became addicted to more substances in rehab? I'm like, again, I do think that it would have manifested regardless. But my story is a little bit interesting. I just preface it with that because I don't ever want, especially family members, for it to like freak them out. And I think so much of it is about our decisions, our intentions, and who we're surrounding ourselves with, okay? So we make this pact that we're not going to tell. We're not going to tell anybody. We're not going to tell our therapist, obviously. We're not going to tell the treatment facility. We're going to do this one night, and we're never going to do it again. She wakes up the next morning, and she's in tears, and she's like, I have to tell. And I'm like, dude, come on, please, no. I'm like begging her not to. It's too late. She already told 3 people in the house. Now, you know, our therapist is calling us into the office, and that was that. So she got sent to a different facility. I got sent to like a detox for a couple days, kind of more so as punishment, not that I needed the detox, and I came back. So I want to skip through like a lot of the details of my story because there's a lot of running around, and there's a lot of relapsing, and we'd be here forever. I only got into that story a little bit because the way I felt the first time I had ever tried a benzo, this was tenfold. Like, this was it. I had found my thing, you know? And so that was the beginning of a long road, okay? And it wasn't even then that I started going ham on that substance. It really wasn't. Like, after that and after we got caught, I stayed sober for a little bit. But a big theme in my story is I loved to run away from myself, man. I would go to California, I would try to get sober, I would fail, I would cause a giant mess, and I'd run back to Pittsburgh. I'd be in Pittsburgh. Usually in Pittsburgh, I was always pretending to be sober, so I can't really say I relapsed a lot in Pittsburgh. Either way, I'd blow things up, I'd cause these big disasters, and I'd run back to California. And one of the most common things in my story is anytime I needed to go to rehab, it was, I'm calling my buddy and I'm getting on a plane to California. Like, my MO was, if I was going to rehab, I was going to California. And I was one of those people that would say, I can't get sober in my hometown. I can't get sober around these people. And let me say, like, geographical change is good for people. Like, it really, truly is. I think it's more so about your intent. And for me, it was about running from all that shit. But I thought it was, I can't be around these people. This is where it all started for me. But one of the hardest parts that I experienced in my journey of trying to get sober is that I would have these like really good stints in sobriety in California. And, you know, I'd get a really good job. I worked in treatment in San Clemente, and I bought a car at Ocean Honda, and all these beautiful things. And I'm living this great life. But my primary reason for doing all of this, my child, is across the country. She's at home with her dad, and my parents. Because the first time I came out here, I wanted to ensure that my daughter was safe and cared for. And the only way that I knew how to do that was by giving my half of the custody to my mom and dad. That was the only way that I knew legally my parents would have something to do with her upbringing while I was gone, and that was a way for me to protect her. It's still to this day one of the best decisions I've ever made, but also if I would have known how hard that was gonna be in the long run and what it was gonna cost me, I don't know if I would have done it, so it's a good thing that I didn't know then. But ultimately, it was one of the best and most selfless decisions I've ever made, especially in a time where I really wasn't very healthy. So it was more so like I'm listening to whatever the therapist tells me to do. So eventually, I kind of started to learn that wherever I go, there I am. And that was annoying, like really annoying. But it was like, you got to face this shit, you know? And again, I could go into details and I could tell you about my rehab boyfriend. And I could tell you about him and I and us getting an apartment and working in treatment together out here in California. And I could tell you about like the success we accumulated until I went home for Christmas to visit my daughter. And I had a really great time with my family, my parents, everyone. And then I'm at the Pittsburgh airport. And this time was different for some reason, leaving her. I'm like, dude, what is this? Like, it just was so confusing. It didn't make any sense. Why is life going so well out here when my daughter is here? It was so, I would get angry. Like, I just couldn't understand why things were the way they were. What am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go? When I go home, I want to get high. I mean, I wanted to get high anywhere in the country, in the world, really. But specifically, I couldn't understand why life looked the way that it did for me. And so I didn't even get through the Pittsburgh airport, and I was like downing shots, okay? By the time I get on the plane, I text my boyfriend, and I say, I need you to go get stuff, and I need you to have it when I land in LAX. And he was a pro at using. And he's like, Abby, we're not doing this. I'm not getting you into this. And I pulled the, ladies, I pulled the good old, okay, you don't have to get it for me. I'll have another guy get it for me. Like, so terrible, right? Like, that's so sick. I knew it would work, and it did. This is when everything, like, just absolutely went to shit. You know, physically dependent, not leaving this apartment in San Clemente, sleeping on an air mattress. We had the apartment, we just didn't have any furniture. Sleeping on the floor. We both worked in treatment. He did the graveyard shift, so that's where I'd get our toilet paper, our Clorox, our cleaning supplies, and our coffee filters. You know, like shoving them in my purse before I go back home. But yeah, we started using together, and it got really bad really fast. Like, it got really ugly almost overnight. So what do? And you know, it was interesting. When I started to experience being dope sick for the first time, I would get real homesick. Like, it was weird. I, like, wanted my mom. So I called her, and I said, hey, Mom, I'm doing so well. We're doing so well that we're ready to move home. I want to bring him with me. You know, the tale as old as time. And my poor parents just, like, wanted to see me do well and stay sober. They did. They let him fly across the country with me. And him and I have this grand plan that we're going to use our last little bit, go to the airport, go to Pittsburgh, and we're never going to touch another substance again. And we're going to, like, do this thing in Pittsburgh. We, like, hardly made it to the Pittsburgh airport. You know, we had a layover, back on the plane. We hardly touched down in Pittsburgh, and we were feeling dope sick, like, immediately. And so we didn't play this off for very long. I will never forget that morning, waking up, my first day being home with my daughter, and I could hardly function. I was so sick. He couldn't get out of bed. It was just really bad. It was a really, really, really bad situation. And so I'll fast forward through that a little bit. More charges came up, more legal issues. My car got surrounded. You know, they were trying to get the big dogs, and they were coming for, like, the little addict that could help them get there. So my car got surrounded by a SWAT team, you know, a couple possession charges. Later, my parents were like, you got to go to rehab, you got to leave, okay? So that was the end of me and him. God bless his soul. He's, last I heard, was on Skid Row, which was just a few months ago, so I'm constantly praying for him. But, you know, one thing I want to quickly say with him, he never got in trouble, like, ever, dude. He never got caught. He never faced consequences. And you know what I used to say to that? Like, you're so lucky. That's so not fair. Why am I always getting arrested? Why am I always getting pulled over? Why do I crash my car into trees? Like, why do you never face any consequences? And I look back now as somebody who's sober, and I'm like, thank God that I faced all those consequences. I wouldn't be here. I know for a fact. And I see what that does. I see how much harder it is when you're not facing consequences and when you're not pushed into corners. And the other lady said it too. Working steps against our will. I worked steps because I had to, or they were kicking me out of the sober living. And I said, but I paid my rent. I don't care. You know? I had to be pushed into a corner, back against the wall. And when I tell you that, and I'll get to it. So eventually, I'm at home. I no longer have a boyfriend. I made a promise to myself that I'm not going to touch heroin. I'm only going to do pills. I was trying to be classy. But you know, that's a really expensive habit. And I couldn't keep up with it. My waitress job it could not fund the addiction. And so I started writing checks to myself for my father's checkbook. Yeah, and it went really well until it didn't. I got away with it for maybe like 6 months. And I had done this before, like on and off, or I would take his debit card when he went to sleep. I'd go to Sheetz, my East Coasters. I'd go to Sheetz and I'd pull some money out, and then I'd run home and I'd put his card right back and I'd have the cash. Either way, I got really, really comfortable doing this. And you know, again, it's so weird because I didn't want to be doing this. I wasn't doing it so that I could put my head in my lap. I was doing it so that I could get out of bed. And why I couldn't just admit to anybody that I had a problem, I have no idea. And so instead, I just dealt with the anxiety of every time my father called me, when is it going to be the call? You know? When is it going to? Every time he called me, my stomach dropped. My parents tried really, really hard to help me. God bless them. I just think they had no idea how. And I think they finally learned that they were enabling me more than they were helping me. I'd crash my car. They'd help me get another one. Or I would, you know. So at this time, they'd help me get a little house because I was working on trying to be a mom again. My parents still had custody of my daughter. And I was really trying. But I'm using behind the scenes. I am working, but I'm using. And he's funding it, unfortunately. And so the call eventually came. My dad calls me and he says, hey, I have a question. I'm like, what's up? He goes, so I just went to pump gas and my car declined. I'm like, oh, did you talk to the bank? He's like, yeah, I went to the bank. I'm at the bank with a PNC worker. And here on this desk, we have every single check that you have ever written printed out in front of us. And so ultimately he says, you need to go to rehab or I'm pressing charges against you. So of course I just call my friend and I'm like, I need to get on a plane today. And again, there's so many details of my story and I just don't want to get too caught up on one thing. But there was somebody that was really important to me in my life that I met out here. His name was Charlie. And I lived with Charlie in San Juan Capistrano for quite some time. And I was very much back and forth. So my time out here was for a little while, but it wasn't all consecutive. But a lot of my time out here was spent with my dear friend Charlie, and we worked at a facility together in San Clemente, and then we ran a co-ed sober living together. He was the male house manager, and I was the female. Ask me how that went with the co-ed sober living. It was wild. It was fun, though. So he was a marketing director. He used to do some work with Hope by the Sea, which I didn't know who or what that was back then, and I would just hear the name a lot, and they would really help each other just with business things, and I knew that name, you know, but he did a lot of marketing. He helped place a lot of people in treatment. He helped save a lot of people, and he was my dear friend. So when my dad gave me this ultimatum, I called Charlie, and I said, I need you to get me on a plane today, and he said, no. And I'm like stomping my feet. I'm very angry at him. I'm never going to speak to you again. Why are you doing this? You probably have some little girlfriend and you don't want me out there. It was all the reason, you know, my I was just so screwed up. And so I was very angry. I hang up on him and it dawns on me that like I'm not going to be able to get out there. Nobody is flying me out there. And so for the first time ever, I'm forced to go to treatment in my hometown, Washington. County, which is not far from Pittsburgh at all. And I'd been to this facility one other time, but I made as quickly as I could. I think I was in there for 3 days until I could get the flight to California. But I had never done a full stay at a treatment facility until now. And so I go to this facility, and here I go, ready? This time was different. It was. This time was different. And it was different in the sense that I was miserable. I didn't want to make friends. I didn't want to do my makeup on that bathroom floor in the mirrors in the morning. I had no interest to be a part of groups. I was like dead. There was nothing in me. I was empty. And I'll tell you this, and I say this a lot, it doesn't matter what gets you to treatment. Like, it doesn't have to be this inner voice or this feeling of like this motivation to go to treatment. It's okay if it was an ultimatum. It's okay if somebody else kind of forced you or pushed you to. I think what matters is that while you're there, at some point during your stay, you find a reason to want to stay somewhere within. But what gets you there, I don't think really necessarily matters as long as you get there. And find a reason along the way, like I said, to stay. And so that was me. I didn't want to go to jail. That's why I went that last time, and especially not in Pittsburgh. So here I am 28 days in. I'm getting ready to graduate. I have like 48 hours left, okay? And there were a lot of ways that it was different. But another way was I wasn't getting mail. Nobody was coming to visit me. You know, they would have family nights, and all of us who didn't have family coming to visit would get, like, shoved in this room, and they'd put a movie on and, like, close the door. We were, like, the recheck kids. But everybody had enough of me. When I went to treatment in Palm Springs, my parents flew across the country for groups, for family therapy sessions. They had enough. I had nobody to call, so that was my job. I worked the phones because nobody was calling me, so I didn't need to use them. So here I am 2 days out from graduating, and they're doing mail call, right? And they call my name, and I'm like, you got the wrong one. He's like, nope, Abbey Fickley. I'm like, okay. So I take this mail, and I open this up, and it's a three-page typed disownment letter from my father, signed on the last page. And this letter just kind of went on and on that I'm not their daughter, I'm not like the girl that they raised. My daughter, that he felt so sorry for my daughter because she deserves such a better mom, that they had spent so much time trying to help me that they really hurt their relationship with my siblings, and my siblings were resentful at my parents for all of the effort that they put into trying to get me sober, and just like all these things, he had enough. Like, he was done, dude. So he let me know that he had cut me off of his health insurance, a couple other things, And one of the biggest things that he said that I'll never forget is about the messes. He's like, you just make these big giant messes, and then you're nowhere to be found, and like, here we are cleaning them up. Like, who packed up an entire house for me when I had to go to treatment and had to leave all of that behind, a house that they were helping me pay for? Like, I was just always leaving them with my messes. And so the last page was the doozy of this letter, and that was that my father had typed in this letter, and by the way, I decided to go through with pressing the charges. So I was facing 32 counts of forgery, identity theft, and theft by unlawful taking. And what's crazy in that moment when I think back is I'm holding this piece of paper, and I'm running up to every single tech and every single therapist and every single worker at this facility, and I'm showing them this, and I'm like, I need you to tell me what's going to happen to me. Like, I needed somebody to tell me exactly what was going to happen to me. I needed to know how much time I was looking at. I needed to know how much time I was going to face, what charges I was going to get, what this was going to do to me. Is my daughter going to know me? And I needed all of the answers right then and there. But the problem was nobody could tell me. Nobody could tell me what was going to happen to me. And thank God, because that's how I found God. And so I graduate this treatment facility, and for the first time ever, I have I have nowhere to go, and so I was placed in a sober living. My Charlie out here in California paid for my first month to get me on my feet. And in this facility, you had to work the steps, you had to have a sponsor, all of the things that we do in the program. And if you didn't, you were kicked out, right? And so, I remember at one point, I got a couple warnings, and one time it was that I wasn't calling my sponsor. And I said, I don't know what you want me to do. I call this woman. I have nothing to say to her. I have nothing to say to her. You tell me to call her every day. I have nothing. I hardly know the woman. And the house manager's like, I don't care. Call her anyways. And I'm like, okay, watch this. I'm going to show you. Watch it. I'm going to call her. I'm like, and then my sponsor answers the phone, and she's just conversating, and she's just going. And the house manager's like, see? You know? And so it was a lot of these like moments of uncomfortability that really helped me grow. And so I woke up every day, I think, physically ill, throwing up for the first few months because of these charges and not knowing what was going to happen to me, because it was just always all about me and what was going to happen to me, right? And so I was just constantly physically sick. I wanted to make it right with my father, but I had lost my family. I was only 15 minutes down the road from where I grew up and felt further away from everybody than I did when I was in California. I mean, it was just the lowest point of my life. But I stayed in this sober living, and I got really close with these women that I never would have chose any of this. And that's the biggest thing for me with my story and how I found long-term sobriety is, you know, and you women said it so well, like so much of it was against my will. So much of it was just that I had no other option. I had nowhere else to go. I had nobody else that could drive me to meetings. And I needed a roof over my head. And so I did these things that I was told, and I started to very, very slowly see my life change. But a big part of my story and the charges that I faced just played a really big role in my relationship with God. Because eventually I got to the point where I was so tired of being so physically ill all the time from fear of the unknown that I finally just fell and looked up and was like, if you're real, if you're up there, I'm asking you to take this. It is so heavy. And it was kind of one of those things, it was like the desperation of like, you know what, I don't even care anymore. Like the way I feel is so terrible that I don't even care anymore what happens to me. I just can't feel like this anymore. And that's kind of when my relationship with God started, and when I started to lean on him and rely on him and pray to him, build a relationship. So I was almost a year sober by the time I had to go to court for this case against my dad. And I don't know if my parents knew this or not, but even if like they wanted to take the charges back, like the state picked them up. So at a year sober, I really didn't have so much of a relationship with my family, but I had started to make amends. I had made amends with everybody individually. And I was slowly starting to talk to my family again. They were letting my daughter come visit at the sober living. There was like little communication. And I think at this point, because I had a year sober, my parent, and I had never been able to accumulate anything like that, I think that my dad started to really notice like a difference in me. And by the grace of God, when we went into the courtroom that day, my mom sat in the back. She was real emotional, so she couldn't really say or do much. But my father had ended up hiring a lawyer on my behalf, and he fought the charges next to me, which I don't deserve, like still don't deserve, you know, because even at a year sober and even with the work I had done, they had cleaned up so many messes for me. But it was a little bit different for me this time, because for the first time I had actually put in a little bit of work. Like I had felt like I actually earned a lot of the things that I had in life. This, however, wasn't one of them. This one just still feels undeserving to me. So alongside my dad, and one of the first times I ever saw him cry, he said a few words to the judge on behalf of me and who I was slowly turning into and how much work I had done. And we got those 32 counts of felonies dropped down to a singular misdemeanor theft charge. Again, don't deserve it at all. But I'm grateful, because some of the decisions that I've made in addiction, and I have a lot of friends who experience this, could have ultimately impacted my life forever, especially legally. And so what they had done for me, the gravity of it was absolutely huge, and I was able to recognize that. And so slowly but surely, I started to put my life back together, you know. And when it came to AA, and like I said, I didn't really understand it. I didn't know much about it from the beginning. And I like to kind of share a little bit of this because I think it would have helped me. And I say this to the kids, so warning. I will ask them like an example of a phenomenon. Right? Does anybody in the room have an example of a phenomenon? What is it? Is that one? That might be one. I'm not really sure, actually. I only know a couple. I know that domesticated cats are the only cats that purr. And then the other one that I know is that yawning is contagious. Fun fact, they've done a lot of research on this. Like, if you look into it, like, scientists have done a lot of research on it. It's really interesting. We could be across the country from each other on FaceTime, and I could yawn, and you'll yawn. You know what I mean? Like, it's wild when you think about it. But the point of a phenomenon is that we know it exists, right? We know it's real. We know it's true, but we can't prove it. We can't prove why. We know, we've seen it. We know the reality of it. We have seen this thing of whatever that may be. I see this domesticated cat purring, right? I see that our yawns are, but we can't figure out why. We can't prove it. That is this program. That is this program. And I know there's some stigma, and I know that people have a bad experience, and it just tarnishes the whole thing for them. And it's like church. There's shitty people everywhere, dude. Like, there's shitty people everywhere. You know, it's a perfect program and perfect people. And so I think if you can just look at it a certain way and understand that, like, this isn't a cult, this isn't a hypnotism, this isn't anything crazy or weird. Like, this is life-changing, this is life-saving. When I went to my first meeting the day that I got out of inpatient and went to that sober living in Pittsburgh, it was a Tuesday. I was on blackout. I didn't want to be alone. I didn't have my phone. Actually, T-Mobile turned my phone on for me without giving them any money. I will forever shout out T-Mobile for that one. I begged them, told them I was trying to get my life together. They turned my phone back on for me. But this girl said, hey, do you want to come to a meeting with us tonight? I'm like, please. So this girl pulls up. And God has jokes. This girl pulls up, and she sees all of us standing outside of the sober living, and she says, oh, I don't have enough room in my car. She says, my son's car seat's in here, and I can't take it out. Everybody looks at me because I'm the smallest one. I'm like, are we for real, man? So to my first AA meeting, I drove there in a car seat. And, like, that wasn't even the worst part, dude. The worst part was pulling up. You know, there's 20 boys outside with a Monster in one hand and a Newport in the other, and everybody's, like, looking at the fresh baby, like, who's new coming into treatment. We heard this girl came to the sober living. I hop out of this car. I hop out of a car seat in front of all of these people. And the reason I love to share that is because I never wanted to go to meetings. I didn't want to do AA. I didn't want to do these things. And God was like, now you got no choice. And this is how you're going to get there, in a car seat. You know? And so it's funny. I can laugh about it now. But then, man, it was rough. And as a woman in general, I think that we put a lot of emphasis on our appearance. I'll speak for myself, I guess, when I say that. I've put a lot of emphasis on my appearance, and I don't even just mean, like, makeup and hair done, but just that if I look good, I am good. And I think that exists to an extent, but of course, if we're, like, dead inside, it doesn't matter how we look on the outside, right? And I remember the first time I went to so I was in a 3-month outpatient, this final round of treatment, and this therapist, Amanda, saved my life. I still am in contact with her to this day, but we're sitting in group, and there's all these people, and as you can imagine, there's all kinds of different looking folks in there. We're in an outpatient facility. You have, like, a truck driver, a nurse, a construction worker, all kinds of different people. And this therapist says, what does an addict look like to you? Everybody's raising their hand, and they're like, bad hygiene, homeless, messy hair, dirty clothes. And then the therapist goes, do you know what an addict looks like to me? And she goes, and she points to me. My ego at that time was still so bad. Like, the ego and pride was still, like, really getting me. I hated this woman. From day one, I hated her. I'm like, what? Me? Out of all these people? And I look back now, and I'm like, she knew what she was doing. But she said, you know why? Because people like Abby die. I'm like, oh. People like Abby care so much about how they look and not how they feel, and they don't reach out, and we lose them. It's harder to tell that they're struggling, therefore, they don't usually get help as often, and they die. And that was, like, a really important moment for me, especially with the great way I grew up, and especially with the things that I found to be important. And ultimately, that woman did save my life. So I've gone through a lot in sobriety. You know, I've built a life completely on my own. I co-parent with the father of my child. I would just like to announce that he no longer sells drugs. He stopped a long time ago. I just want to throw that one out there for him. But we did our best to co-parent. I got myself a little tiny apartment. I was a bartender. I was a sober bartender. I started creating content around sobriety, around bartending. You know, and I would promise my daughter, I'll get us a bigger place, and eventually you'll have your own bedroom and you can decorate it how you like. And I did, you know, a year later, I managed to get us a bigger place, and I got her that bedroom, and she decorated it Frozen themed, and I promised her that the next step would be, I'm going to get a place in the district where your dad lives, where you go to school, because she had to wake up an hour earlier than everybody else because we didn't live in the district, and I had to use my parents' address for the school paperwork because I couldn't afford to live in the district. And so a lease later, and again, all of these things were God shots. These were all really important prayers that I constantly prayed, and I would see the reward of continuing to do the right thing. You know, having a home group, having a sponsor. I remember when I got the keys to my home group, dude. I called my mom. I'm like, they trust me with this? Like back in the day, this would have been where I slept at night. You know, it was just like really crazy to start to see like the blessings and the rewards and the things that I cared so much about. And so my life would continue to improve, and then I finally got my daughter and I into the district. I continued doing social media. I continued to share my experience, strength, and hope in real life, in meetings, and online. And eventually my life really changed. I was finally able to quit bartending, and I was finally able to go full-time with social media, and that's a beast in itself. I've gone through a lot of challenges in my sobriety, and currently in some of the toughest times of my life, like I've mentioned. But I think that's what's really important to touch on, because I could tell you all the beautiful things that recovery has given me. I could tell you all of the things that make my life so great and why I'm so happy now, and I could show you all these tangible things. But ultimately, it's about these hard times that I'm experiencing right now, because let me tell you, I would never get through these ever, period, at all, without the use of substances. Not only that, though, to get through all the shit that I've been going through with grace in class, that's not me, dude. That's the program that I work. I would never be able to react or respond to people who hurt me. Shit, I would never be able to pray for the people who are hurting me if it weren't for this program. The program has implemented a structure, and I live my life based off of that. And so I'm not really quite sure where I'd be or how I would deal with things other than the use of drugs if it weren't for the program and the importance of it, and of course, God. And so ultimately, I'm going to wrap it up because I know people are getting antsy, and I've been talking for a long time. But ultimately, I'm very grateful for my life today. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to share my story. I'm grateful for the things that I've overcome, and I look forward to being able to continue overcoming very difficult times with the help of God, with the help of the program, and with sobriety. And the fact that my friend said to me the other day, I don't know how you've managed to get through all this and you did it sober. It didn't even cross my mind, dude. The fact that the use of substance, the fact that that is a solution didn't even come to my mind throughout all this shit, that's crazy to me. Because it'll never fix anything. It'll never change anything. It'll make it all worse. And I think I ultimately know, too, that everything I'm going through right now is leading me to the life that I want and the life that I deserve. Because for a long time, I told myself I didn't deserve a certain type of life. And I do. And the devil comes for you, dude. And we talked about this right before the miracle. And so I'm just holding on really, really tight. I got the seatbelt on, and I'm just going to go for the ride, and we'll see where it takes us. But I'm grateful. Thank you for letting me share.
Yes, sir. My pink mic, thank you. You guys give it up for Abby. Thank you so much.
Wait, whoa.
I know.
Don't leave 5 minutes before the miracle happens. Never leave 5 minutes before the miracle happens.
That's right.
We're going to end this party right now. We got somebody to, let's give it up
Our
one more
closer,
time for
yes.
Abby, though. Let's go.
We're going to close this out in 2.5 seconds. I just have to do a quick thank you to everybody. Obviously, the ladies, you killed it tonight. Everybody sharing their experience, strength, and hope. You guys, please, after we do our prayer and finish up, take some food. Our kitchen hooked it up tonight. Extra pink, extra cutesy. The treats over there are amazing. So please do.
Cutesy.
Cutesy.
What the?
You know, very cutesy,
the hell does
very
that mean?
demure. If you're on TikTok, you already know.
Come on up.
Yes, let's close it on out.
Close it out.
Yes.
Hi, I'm KK. How about these guys? They're amazing. Yes, I'm KK. I'm an addict. As we close tonight's Recover Out Loud meeting, let's take a moment to reflect on the courage, honesty, and hope that have been shared here. Recovery is just not about overcoming addiction. It's about reclaiming our lives, building meaningful connections, and becoming the best versions of ourselves. Tonight, we've taken another step forward on this journey, not alone, but together. Remember, the strength we find in this room doesn't end when we leave. It goes with us into our lives, fueling our determination and reminding us that we are never alone. Recovery is possible, help is available, and hope is alive. Keep sharing your story, keep showing up, keep breaking the stigma. Together, we're part of something bigger, a movement of change, of resilience, and of love. Thank you for being here tonight. Stay strong, stay connected, and most importantly, keep recovering out loud. Let's circle up for prayer.
Yeah.
All right, let's circle up.
Amazing.
Circle up. Where's Shane? I'm going to make Shane pray us out.
Come right here, Shane. What did he call me?
Shane, what prayer are you going to do? Huh?
Are we all together?
Yeah.
Circled up? Everybody touching somebody?
Yeah.
Father God, I want to thank you for the blessings tonight. Father God, I want to thank you for these strong women in our lives. Father God, I want to thank you for shedding your light and your sunshine on all of us. Father God, please bless everyone tonight, those suffering, those in pain, those that couldn't make it tonight, Father God. I want to bless everybody tonight and their families at home praying for us. Father God, in Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amazing.